I'm never gonna look back, cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today. I will never be the same, cause that's what it takes. Pieces is a form of art. I'm never gonna look back, cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today. I will never be the same, cause that's what it takes. Let's go. Yo, I'm like an addict, do I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it, fuse like a magnet. Lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket. I ain't playing, got a weird mind. If you work 8 hours, I'ma work 9. If the shit tastes sour, you should taste mine. I'ma stay in power for a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. I'm never gonna look back, cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today. I will never be the same, cause that's what it takes. Pieces is a form of art. I'm never gonna look back, cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today. I will never be the same, cause that's what it takes. Yo, yo, I'm like an addict, do I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it, fuse like a magnet. Lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket. I ain't playing, got a weird mind. If you work 8 hours, I'ma work 9. If the shit tastes sour, you should taste mine. I'ma stay in power for a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today. I will never be the same. Cause that's what it takes. Let's go. Yo, I'm like an addict, do I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it, fuse like a magnet. Lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket. I ain't playing, got a weird mind. If you work 8 hours, I'ma work 9. If the shit tastes sour, you should taste mine. I'ma stay in power for a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move.
Okay, we are live. Hello and namaste everyone. Welcome to the first ever live session of the Cricket Nerd. And it's me, Vivek Yadav.
And it's me, Rochak Wasti, and we have a very, very special guest with us who is the voice of Associate Cricket, our very favorite, Andrew. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Guys, thanks so much. Namaste. A real pleasure to join you from Ireland here this afternoon, and great to log into you both in Biratnagar and Kathmandu, and to everyone.
Yeah, almost 3 to 4 months on the road. It must have been a hectic, and finally we are at home, and I guess it has been a warm welcome.
Yeah, look, my schedule, I'm lucky that my schedule is so busy because it means that I've got a lot going on. And look, I feel really lucky to be doing something that I love. And yeah, I'm just devastated I'm not in Kathmandu right now with what is, well, a historic series and has been an absolutely brilliant series to start with 2 thrilling games. Nepal may well feel like they should be 2-0 up, but 2 amazing games, 2 brilliant occasions, and just the most perfect start to the World Cup journey that gets going in almost exactly a month from today.
Yeah, Nepal won the first match, and West Indies came back better in the second match, and the series is setting up perfectly for remaining 3 important matches.
Yeah, look, it really is. I think after the ACC Premier Cup, where there was a little bit of disappointment, I'm really glad that the boys bounced back with a win in the first game in particular. I always thought it would be a very competitive series, this one. Nepal had the advantage of their home conditions, and the West Indies have the advantage of being a full member nation and a really strong side. I know it's called an A team, but that's really not far off a full senior team. They're probably missing 8 or 9 guys who would be in and around the squad that are playing at the IPL. But apart from that, you've got world-class players, your Obed McCoys, your Andre Fletchers, your Austin Chases, your Kimo Pauls. So for Nepal to beat them with probably one of the best innings in the history of Nepali cricket, with the captain Rohit Paudel kind of leading from the front and scoring such an amazing century in front of a packed house. It again just lit up and captured the imagination of the cricketing world, not just in Nepal, but right the way around the world. And it kind of gave me a bit of faith that the things I've been saying over the last 12 to 18 months have been right, because there was so much criticism after the defeats in the semi-finals and the third place playoff in Oman that I was pleading with people to stay with the boys and stay behind them. And I'm glad that in just one game that was vindicated, but I think it's going to continue to be vindicated over the months and years to come.
Yeah, ACC Premier Cup was highly disappointing for every fan, especially the loss against Hong Kong. That was kind of most people say that should have been avoided. But the home series against West Indies, against strong West Indies A team, that would be a perfect. This will be a perfect preparation for Nepal ahead of very important World Cup.
Yeah, look, I really think so. I don't think you could ask for better preparation. I'm not exactly sure the final plans yet for the team after this series. I think they're going to go reasonably quickly to the United States. I might counsel them to have a few days off because they've been on the road a little bit like myself. They've been on the road a lot, and it can take a toll out of you. And they want to be in absolutely peak condition come June for the first World Cup game against the Netherlands. But I think if they do go to the United States very early, they've got an awful lot of incredible supporters there. We saw Paris Kadka over on a fundraising tour and kind of an awareness tour. There's such a huge Nepali diaspora there in the United States that I think they'll get great support. And maybe actually then they'll get the benefit of being better acclimatized than anyone barring the United States and maybe West Indies themselves. So look, that World Cup for me, everything apart from the fact that they've got the group of death, points towards maybe the most successful global tournament ever for Nepal. I think they're going to be the test nation for the first time. I've said that repeatedly. I'm going to stick with that. I can't turn my back on it now, but I think there's a couple of things playing in their favor, particularly what I gather are going to be two huge Nepalese crowds in Texas and in Florida. And then also, I do think the conditions in St. Vincent, if they get to know them quickly enough, and that really good appointment of Roddy Eastwick will help that as the bowling consultant. But I think it's going to take spin there. And I think when it takes spin, I think that plays to Nepal's advantage. And that's why, I'm sure we'll talk about the squad at some point, but that's why someone like Sagar Dakal's performance yesterday was so exciting, because it's probably catapulted him into the 15-man squad reckoning.
Yeah, and becoming a test nation will be a dream. And we have seen your emotion when Ireland first won their first test match. And yeah, you pointed an important question on spin friendly pitches in West Indies. And do you think Nepal should bring a second premium spinner along with them? Because mostly Nepal play with Lalit Narayan Rajbanshi and rest with part-time spinners of Dipendra, Kushal Bhutel, captain himself Rohit, and Kushal Malla. So, would you pick a second premium spinner like someone like Sagar Dakal?
Yeah, well, look, I think the reality is now the 15-player squad will be picked from the 20 that are involved this West Indies A series. I think it's too late for someone like a Mausam Dakal to get involved and to get in the mix, even though they'd love to have a kind of first choice wrist spinner in the squad, I suspect. For me, I think sides should always play to their strengths wherever they go in the world. And Nepal's strengths historically are spin bowling and their spin bowlers. And the other reason I would say that they can get an additional spinner into the squad is because of the fact that Gulshan Jha gives you that versatility with his complete all-round skill set, let alone Sampal Kami and Karan KC's ability to bat and bowl as well. So for me, I think Sagar Dakal is an absolute, he should be in the squad, and not just because he bowled 4 good overs against the West Indies the other day, but because he's a very different kind of spinner to both Lalit Rajbanshi and to Kushal Malla. Kushal Malla is a great option at points as well, but I'd have him in the team as a batter, and it depends on the surface and the opposition and really the boundary size as well for Kushal Malla. But for Sagar Dakal, he can probably bowl you some quite tough overs, whether that be towards the end of the power play or indeed sort of towards the middle and latter stages of the first or the second innings. So yeah, look, I think he's put himself in the picture. I'm not involved in the selection. Obviously, I have my own personal opinions. But whichever 15 go, look, I have no doubt they're going to represent Nepal with immense pride and real success too.
Exactly, Andrew. And let's forget about the ACC Men's Premier Cup. But if you talk about the side which Nepal played against West Indies, that is not the main strength side of Nepal. You know, there were Karan KC, Sompal Kami, they were missing there. So, what do you think? The bench strength of Nepal also almost pulled the second game against West Indies. So, can we say that Nepal, is more, the bench strength of Nepal is more stronger?
Well, look, I think one thing I adore about Nepal fans and people like your good selves and pundits and journalists, they're so passionate about the game. I'm so passionate about the game too, so I empathize with it massively. But I suppose just that the gigantic roller coasters of highs and lows that everyone goes on so regularly, I'd love if people were a bit more level. So when Nepal win a game, they're not the best team in the world. When they lose a game, they're not the worst team in the world. But sometimes what tends to happen, like after that semi-final, like I thought they lost to a UAE side that in that tournament were better than Nepal. And on that day were significantly better. And they won an important toss and got the better of the conditions. But if you read the social media comments that night, it was like, we need to burn the bales of Nepali cricket. It's all over. Let's call it off. It's done. And that was one game. You cannot win every game. And actually, I wouldn't want to win every game, as whether I'm a Nepal fan or an Irish fan. There's no fun in winning if you don't have losing. There's no fun in highs if you don't have lows. So I guess I'd plead a little bit with everyone. I've done this a couple of times over the last few weeks, just to be a bit more level and a bit more fair. Overall, Monty Desai and Rohit Paudel are absolutely taking the team in the right direction across the two primary formats they play, ODI cricket and T20I cricket. Has there been a few occasional highs and lows? Was I surprised they lost 3 from 4 at home against Namibia and Netherlands? A little bit in their conditions at the start of Cricket World Cup League 2. But I wasn't really surprised they lost that semi-final. In fact, I quite fancied UAE to win that game because right now UAE have slightly better power hitters than Nepal have. You look at the form of Sharafu, Asif Khan, and the captain Mohammad Wasim, who's one of the best T20 players in the world. He should be in every T20 league in the world. I think the same about Dipender Singh Airi. Dipender Singh Airi, for me, should be in every T20 league in the world. In reality, the reason Mohammad Wasim and Dipender Singh Airi aren't there is because of the fact they're associate players and there's not as much spotlight on them. If they were in Australia, England, or the West Indies, they literally would be in every league in the world. That's a fact. They're that good. So I guess just for fans to stay a little bit more level, to stick with the team, and to think of good days like Rohit Paudel brought us on Saturday, and then bad days like the third place playoff, where I was surprised that Nepal lost. I think that was a disappointing day. That, for me, in some ways, was more disappointing than the semi-final, because for me, Nepal are ranked higher than Hong Kong for a reason, and they're a better team than Hong Kong for a reason. So they should be beating them 8-9 times out of 10 for me. Now, there also has to be some management of expectations going to the World Cup. The reality is, if the rankings hold, Nepal should lose all 4 games, and they should finish bottom of the group, and the World Cup dream is over. But that's not, games aren't played on rankings. World Cups aren't played on rankings. I think they'll win games. I think they're going to beat the Netherlands in that first game, and I think they're going to beat Bangladesh or Sri Lanka. South Africa might be a bridge too far. I don't know which one of them they're going to beat. Sri Lanka have some real X-factor players that might take the game away. But if they catch Bangladesh on an average day, absolutely Nepal can beat them. And the fact we're even talking about that, compared to where Nepali cricket was at 15, 18 months ago when Monty Desai took over, I think that's pretty exciting. So maybe think about it a year and a half ago when you were going, are Nepal even going to keep ODI status? Will they even continue to get funding? Where's the game going in the country? We're going to a World Cup in 30 days from now. And we have real dreams and realistic expectations of beating a test nation for the first side. And who knows, if the group goes their way, maybe the Super 8, even that isn't out of the question.
Yeah, Super 8, that we'll discuss later. But yeah, first game against Netherlands would be is a huge game for both, and that will be a huge game. And yeah, well, Dipendra and Rohit has been in good form lately, but there is concern, and for all Nepalese fan, there is concern about Kusal Bhurtel. His batting form is like in constant decline. Do you call it just a bad patch, or there is something missing in him, or some?
Yeah, look, I understand the talk about Kushal Bertel, and I think I'm just looking at his figures here to the side of me. I commentated on the 3 ducks, which I think was second ball, first ball, second ball.
First Saudi.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Prior to that, he'd been in pretty good form. I thought he looked really good against the Ireland Wolves, actually. I think he made a 30 and a 20, but they came in quick time. He's a very aggressive player. A great friend of mine in life, lucky has been a pal of mine for decades now, is Paul Sterling, who opens the batting for Ireland. Sterlo always says to me, you can have these really surreal patches when you open the batting in T20 cricket, because your role, even if you're out of form, it can't be, you can't be 3 off 10 balls. If you're 3 off 10 balls in the power play, you're actually significantly harming and hindering your side's chances of winning that game, particularly with the way we're seeing scoring rates going. The batting conditions were pretty good in Oman, maybe barring that semi-final on that morning when there was a lot of dew about and it swung. So really, outside of that day, it's hard to put my finger on exactly why he's struggling. He's naturally a very attacking player. I think you just have to continue to back him and understand that this is the same guy who made 450s from his first 5 T20I innings. I saw some talk about, do we shuffle him down the order? I don't see that at all, because I don't see a natural replacement for the World Cup for that position. I think for me, it's very clear the batting order. Like the top five for me, I don't think even is up for debate. It has to be Asif Sheikh, Kushal Patel, Rohit Paudel at 3, Kushal Malla at 4, Dipender Singh Ari at 5. That for me, like I think there's some shuffling then you can do between 6 and 8, 6 and 9. But I think that top 5 is such an overwhelmingly convincing case. And that's why I was so glad to see that, outside of Asif Sheikh, who was rested, that was the order for that West Indies A victory in the first game. And that's why they won for me, because everyone's batting in the right positions. I know Kushal Malla ran himself out. But having watched so much of the boys, that screams overwhelmingly to me as the natural top 5. And we're 30 days out. Even if Bertel doesn't get a score in the last few West Indies A games, I'd still be going with that come the first game against the Netherlands.
Exactly, Andrew. And can we blame that to the loss in ACC Men's Premier Cup? Nepal, almost every year, Nepal plays 90% of their matches in home in the TU International Cricket Ground. So they don't even practice outside Nepal. So can we blame the loss of Nepal in ACC Men's Premier Cup that they haven't practiced so much outside home or outside Asia conditions, especially?
Look, I think it's a really good question, and there's also a lot of backup to that point. But let's look at the kind of root causes. Why do Nepal play so much cricket at home? They have a massive fan base, and there are commercial and logistical and financial reasons that they can afford to play cricket. Cricket is cost effective to run in Nepal. It's actually probably profit making. I can guarantee you, if you try to run a profit making series in Scotland, in the Netherlands, in the UAE, it's not going to be commercially viable or successful. And without the monies from the ICC and the ACC, a lot of those series wouldn't in reality happen, particularly if it's, let's just say, for example, Scotland, Namibia, Oman. Right, that series is going to get 100, 150 fans through the gate each day. It's going to lose money. It'll be broadcast on a limited number of platforms for a limited amount of money. When Nepal hosts games, they don't just take gate revenues, they also get broadcast revenues. And again, we're talking about A teams. This is Ireland A, West Indies A, Zimbabwe A came a couple of years ago. Imagine what it's going to be like when a full member comes with their full side for full T20Is. That's going to go absolutely bonkers. So I guess I understand the question, but there's a reason why they play so much in Nepal. And if the option is, okay, we get to play loads in Nepal and not quite as much away, or we can play the same amount, but we don't really play an awful lot, then you've got to take this option. So I know Nepal would love to go and play Canada and USA in a triangular series, but I don't think the finances, things cost an awful lot more in the United States. Hotel rooms, cost of living, your daily per diems, even getting people to come along. It's going to be really difficult to make that series equitable. So there's a reason for it. What can they do about it? Well, we've seen them try to utilize partnerships and links. They got over to Hong Kong for a series, which certainly are different conditions. They were down in India for a series. There'll be parts of Asia they'll be able to get to, but for bilateral tours to Europe, to Africa, to the Americas, or even to Australia, New Zealand in dream scenarios, it's going to be really, really difficult. But the one thing I love about the new administration that's come in since Paris Kadka's become secretary, he's got a massive focus on playing more cricket. And that's not just at a senior level, that's at the A-team level, which I think is going to be, we're not going to see that kick in overnight. It's not going to be like next year, we're going to have an extra 20 players who are pushing the door down. But in 3 to 5 to 7 years' time, that's going to have a massive effect on the game. So we saw it with Lokesh Bam's century against Ireland A. We saw it with Arif Sheikh's performances. We saw it with Kamal Singh Ari coming back. There's guys then that have a path to get back and press those at the top. That wasn't really the way before, and we probably lost players. Tragedy to lose Kishore Mahado, for example, down to Australia. I'd love to see him come back and press the case through that A-team system now. At least there's a structure now. There's more youth cricket being played than ever, more domestic cricket being played than ever. So I think all of these things are really good things. To answer your question in a really roundabout way, does it mean that Nepal are going to continue to be a little bit weaker away from home than at home for the next few years? Yes. But is almost every team in the cricketing world a bit weaker away from home than at home? Yes. How many series are India, Australia, and England, even dominant sides like that, winning away from their conditions? Not nearly as many. So it's a problem. And there's also a problem because of the fact that even at the top levels where they've loads of money, the calendar's so squeezed, they're not coming in and playing 3 preparatory matches in advance. So they're going straight into the first test or the first white ball game, and inevitably they're losing that and getting behind themselves in the series. So it's a wider challenge, bigger picture. Nepal are playing more than ever, which can only be a good thing.
Yeah, and one hot topic among fans of Kamal Singh Eri. Dude, he made a great comeback, and yeah, although he went expensive in first T20 against West Indies, do you see him making in that 15 for World Cup?
Look, it's a big question and it's a big call, isn't it, for the selectors to make. I think if I'm reading the
If
regulations
you
correctly, they have to submit a squad by the first.
May first, yeah.
That is it's a preliminary squad. I don't know, can they do something like 15 with 4 travelling reserves? But it looks like from New Zealand, who were the first squad of the 20 to announce theirs today, they've just announced 15. So I think you might be locked into that 15 barring injury. So it's a massive call to make in the next 48 hours to work out, well, hold on, which 15 are we bringing? If we can keep the conversation as simple as it's got to be 15 from the 20 that are there for that West Indies A series, which
Yeah.
obviously rules out your Surya Tamangs, your Mausam Dakals, these kind of guys. I thought the left arm seamer actually bowled really well in that A series. His name escapes me off the top of my head now as well. But so there's guys that are thereabouts, but not going to make this 15. No, it wasn't Durgesh Gupta. What was the guy's name? Left arm seamer.
Rizan Dakal.
Rijan Dakal, thank you. Yeah, Durgesh Gupta is the other left arm seamer from the Everest Premier League days, who's got plenty of potential too. Anyway, if we look at the 20 to the 15, it's obviously going to be really harsh to leave 5 out. The reason I would probably plump for Kamal Singh Iri myself is he has that little bit of extra pace that you may well need.
Yeah.
And he moves the ball too. He gets significant away swing. He's a very good fielder as well. He's a good athlete. He's no slouch with the bat down at number 9. The only hesitancy I would say in that, he's coming back from 2 really bad injuries. So I could see why I can see the selector's mindset if they don't end up going with him. And even though he went at whatever 13 and over against West Indies A, there was just shades there, wasn't there, where he was rushing a couple of batters for pace. And we probably don't see that outside of Sampal Kami when he's at his very best. We don't see that a huge amount from Nepal's fast bowlers. So there'd be a huge temptation to bring him, absolutely.
Okay, so I think we'll move to the most asked question by the fans, by the cricket fans. Will it affect the absence of Sandeep Lamisani in West Indies pitch? Because spin pitch, slow pitch, West Indies, if you bring 2 or 3 more good spinners, you can easily dominate that game and change the scenario of the game. So do you think the absence of Sandeep Lamisani, how much it gonna affect Nepal?
Yeah, look, and it's something obviously I get asked a huge amount, whether it be going in and around the streets of Kathmandu or on social media. I should probably say at the start, I'm the least political man of all time, and I have no involvement with regards to exactly where his case is at or what's going on. But certainly as of right now, he's being convicted and obviously will not be travelling and cannot travel. Will he be missed from a cricketing perspective? Of course he will. He's got a fantastic wicket-taking record. I can't really comment any more than that because I don't know any of the ins and outs of it. A lot of the stuff that's been published around it has been in Nepali language. I haven't been able to read it despite my best namastes and tiksas and godzaps and all of the little bits of Nepali I'm learning. So look, whatever the case, it's obviously he won't be there and he will be missed from a cricketing perspective. I can't really say or know any more than that.
Yeah, and Rohit Paudel has been in super form where it was against West Indies A. In first match, a brilliant match-winning century, and in second match, almost took Nepal to another victory. And I would want you to pick one: 95 against Scotland or 112 against West Indies A. You were there at 95.
Yeah, I was there for that one, and I watched. I did watch every ball of the 100 3 days ago. They're both brilliant innings. They're very different innings. I probably can't split them. I guess the only thing that would split them is the fact that the Scotland game was in a competitive fixture. But then I'm going to counter that by saying I think the pressure on Rohit in particular, and he said it in the press conference the day before, was huge because he felt that his batters, including himself, hadn't stepped up in the ACC Premier. It was really a Depender Singh Iri show in Muscat, wasn't it? If it wasn't for
Yeah.
him, they probably wouldn't even have won 4 from 4 in the group. And the top order, the top 6 or 7, just hadn't stepped up in any way through that tournament, anyway, consistently anyway. I know Sandeep Jura played a very good innings, Asif Sheikh made a 50, but they just looked out of sorts, out of form. So for Powell to kind of take all that responsibility on his own shoulders and play in the way he did against such a good attack, like I think Obed McCoy, I can't believe he's not at the IPL, to be honest. I think he's a phenomenal player. And we saw that in the second T20, didn't we, in Kathmandu? But then the knock against Scotland, because of the game situation, being 8 wickets down so early, only having really Karen KC left, it was probably Rajbanshi after him, I think, without seeing the team. And for them to do that under the maximum pressure against such a good Scottish side, that's one of my favorite cricketing moments of all time. And recently, on the 16th of March, I did a watch back of the UAE game. Did like an hour of it, and a fan had sent me a full hour of highlights, or 30 minutes highlights. It was brilliant. There were so many things I didn't remember because my memory is terrible. But every single one of those games, it was like a chronicled of a 12-part odyssey that you could never even script. Like the 3 matches they won in Dubai, the 8 they won in continuously in Kathmandu. I think you could play those 12 games 1,000 times again. You wouldn't get the 11 wins from 12. It was that extraordinary. And Powell's innings of 95 not out to get Nepal over the line against Scotland. Remember, if they hadn't won that one, the whole thing really would have been over. Yeah, I think that one might just edge it on the balance. But Saturday was a quite phenomenal knock. And from an individual perspective, maybe I think it's hard to think of many better innings in a Nepal jersey in modern times in terms of quality. I know there's been other Centurions, but against that quality of attack, that size of crowd, that much pressure coming back from the ACC Premier, some fans, like, I have ludicrous messages at points. I love all the Nepal fans, but I'm like, they've got to drop Rowan Powell. He's not a good captain, and he hasn't got a 50 in 7 games. That you drop him. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, he's clearly one of your best players. He's a brilliant leader. He's an unbelievable fielder. We forget how good a fielder he is because Dipendra Singh Airi is there.
Dipendra Singh overshadows him.
Yeah, but like in any other team, he's probably the best fielder in the team. Like that run out he got the other day was ridiculous. Yeah. So it's like, how would you even consider dropping him from the team, let alone dropping him as captain? So I was really pleased on a personal level for him. And then to follow it up with a 50, I thought that was almost, obviously it wasn't as good an innings, but it was a big statement of intent, wasn't it? It was like, I'm not making this 100 and then disappearing. I'm taking responsibility, going into that World Cup campaign. I'm the captain, and I'm the man who's going to lead. And that's, for me, why he has to bat at number 3 in T20 cricket. It's just a complete no-brainer. And I really hope every single time he's playing and he's captaining, he's at number 3, because it makes perfect sense. He's one of your best players. You want him to face as many balls as you can. He's got that flexibility of scoring at a strike rate of 100 when he needs to, or a strike rate of 200 plus when he needs to. So he's a gun player. He's a brilliant captain. Think of what he's taken on his shoulders from 31 million people in Nepal, millions others around the world, and how he does that as a young man. I think he's an absolute inspiration. I think he's as good a role model as I've ever seen in any sport. I adore the guy, and he deserves every bit of success that comes to him.
Yeah, just 23 years of age, as younger as me. Yeah.
There you go. Could you do that, Vivek? Could you do that at 23? I don't think you could.
I guess no. Yeah, it's we have seen the redemption of Rohit. And yeah, there is another comeback story of Avinash Bora. Yeah, he had a kind of rough patch a few months back, and he has made a great comeback in ACC Premier Cup, as well as he had a good match against West Indies. That Avinash Bora form will be very crucial for Nepal in World Cup, I guess. Those death overs.
Death bowling is the hardest thing to do in T20 cricket. Just look at any of the IPL games, let alone the most recent 20 or so, where every bowler is getting demolished 24/7. So if you can find a way to go at under 10s in those slog overs in the last few, you're a real asset. But my concerns around Avinash would be his velocity and his lack of velocity through the air. But his smarts and his skills and his consistency and his ability to hit the block hole is quite phenomenal. In fact, his accuracy is borderline freakish in terms of how impressive it is. My other concern around him would be he seems to generally at points just have one option. But then what I like to see towards the end of the ACC Premier and in that West Indies 8, the 2 games there, it's not results-based thinking. He had he was using different options. He was using a slower ball bouncer. He used that a couple of times against the West Indies, and he used a length delivery, which might sound ridiculous. You're going to think, oh, length's going to go the distance at 115, 120 kilometers an hour. But if you're bowling 80% in the block hole, you're not expecting length. So he's used that quite cleverly too. He has to have those options. And I also think he needs a little bit of support in terms of, I think it's unrealistic for him to be asked to bowl 4 consecutive death overs. There's almost no other cricketing team that bowls 13, 15, 17, 19, or 14, 16, 18, 20. So I don't know, does that mean that Rohit Paudel needs to start thinking about bowling in 1 over in the 6th, 7th, or 8th? Or can he get away with 1 at the end of the power play, 5th and 6th? They have to find a balance there where they're not asking too much of him whilst valuing his ability. And the reality is, particularly if you look at the rest of the side, he doesn't add anything in the field or with the bat. So he has to be, if he's in the team, he has to bowl 4 overs. In fact, that was probably what a lot of people were frustrated by in that semi-final, where he didn't bowl at all. So you have to think of him as one of your frontline bowlers. If he's in the starting 11, therefore he has to bowl 4 overs. So you have to plot which 4 overs he's going to bowl. And maybe strategically, Nepal haven't managed him brilliantly at points, but there's a few signs going forward that they'll be able to do that. And again, if he bowls 4 overs on Wednesday in the third T20 for 70, as fans, you can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, well, he's no good anymore. That's one bad day. In reality, I think he's still a good option. And for me, he'd be nailed on in the 15 for the T20 World Cup.
Yeah, I may be wrong, but I read somewhere the stats that out of his 4 over, he almost bowled 60 to 70% Yorker. So, his Yorker, but it was also a pinpoint Yorker. So he really bowled well. And I have
Against West
also,
Indies. Yeah.
yeah, I have also one important question, my personal question. If
Yeah.
not in the commentary box in the World Cup, can we see Andrew Leonard in Nepal in the areas of Basanta Darbar Square? The adrenaline rush in my body for the World Cup. I couldn't
Oh,
stop, and I'm
God.
also wearing the 2014 iconic jersey right now. So
I did
can we?
notice that.
Yeah, can we see Andrew Leonard? Watching the game in the projector in the Basantapur Darbar Square, in the Bhaktapur Darbar Square, in the Darbar Mark. Can we see that? If not in the commentary box, hopefully we will see you. But if not, can we see that? Can we see you?
Look, that's really kind and a very cool idea. The answer is of right now, I don't have an exclusive to give you. I wish I had an exclusive to say I've signed a deal and I'll be in the commentary box come whatever it is, June 4th or June 5th in Texas for the first game for Nepal. I don't know yet. I'll probably just give a little bit of background because I get a lot of questions. Like anytime there's a series coming up, I get flooded with comments and particularly direct messages saying, are you going to be there? Quite often in cricket production, even at an event as big as the World Cup, things happen reasonably last minute and they come together quite late. So, the reason I'm not there for the West Indies series, I think the broadcaster was probably appointed on the Wednesday or the Thursday prior to the Saturday start of the series. Remember, that series was only announced about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So everything scrambles together at the last minute. And then when you're talking about transcontinental flights and getting lodgings and everything at the last minute, it just didn't quite happen. For the West Indies A series, I would have loved to have been there. That's not the case. For the World Cup, look, it would be an absolute dream to be there. My dream was to play for Ireland and go to a World Cup. I never quite achieved that. But the next best thing, I suppose, the thing that, for me, the reason I love to commentate and the thing that gives me the greatest buzz, the closest buzz to replicate playing and those amazing emotions you feel is commentating and getting across the emotions and the excitement of the game to fans. So I'm so overwhelmed at the prospect of even being in the mix to be at that World Cup. Do I know if I'm there yet? No. Have they appointed the full and final rosters yet? No. If I go, will I be on the Nepal games? I don't know. May I be sent to the Ireland games or some other games? I can't really demand. It's not it's not within my makeup anyway, but I'm not exactly Ricky Ponting or Harsha Bogle where I can just storm in and say, hey, I want to do those Nepal games. That's me. But if they call me and I'm in contact with the ICC team and the Star Sports team in the background, if they call me, I'm 100% available. I will drop whatever you need me to drop to be at whatever games they ask me to be at. Would I love for those to be the Nepal games? I'm not going to lie, yes, it would be an absolute dream. The journey I've been on for the last 6 or 7 years with Nepali cricket, I would love to be there and to help voice it to you all. And sorry, to now answer your question, will I come to Nepal? If not, let's just hope I'm there first. And if I'm not, let's work that out.
Yeah, as a Nepali fan, we almost tend to forget the Irish inside you. We have seen we have seen your emotions while Nepal plays in emotions in Nepal win as well loses. But we would like to hear your most emotional moment associated with Irish cricket, like which.
Yeah, look, there's plenty. For me, I'm an emotional man. I don't hide from it. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm actually something that many people know about me. I said on the Suraj Singh Thakuri show recently, I'm actually only half Irish. My mum is Greek, so I'm half Irish and half Greek. And Greeks are known for being emotional and wearing their hearts on their sleeves. So look, I don't hide from that. And the reason I think I'm emotional about cricket is I love it so much, and I adore the sport, and I adore particularly the underdog stories that this sport gives us. All sports give us, but the reason I guess I'm so attracted to the associate nations, and then Ireland, as you rightly said, where I'm from, and then Nepal, where I've got this huge affiliation to now, is that in Ireland, growing up, we were always the underdogs at every sport we played, because we're a very small country. It's 3.5 million people when I was growing up, and for us to win anything was a big deal, let alone go and win World Cup games like we did in football and rugby and then cricket. So I think in terms of emotional days, it's hard to look past the two big days that everyone knows about, which is St. Patrick's Day when we beat Pakistan in 2007. I think it was 4 o'clock in the morning. I was in Melbourne where I was playing cricket. And I might have had a few beers and was watching Trent Johnson hit the winning runs and in floods of tears, looking up at the big screen. 2011 was the same when my great friend Kevin O'Brien, one of my best pals, hit the winning runs. Sorry, he hit the century, and then John Mooney hit the winning runs against England in that World Cup. And that, look, it meant a huge amount to every Irish fan, but I was working behind the scenes. I hadn't started full-time with Cricket Ireland then, but I was working behind the scenes promoting the tournament for them. I had started this thing called Cricket Ireland TV voluntarily. We did loads of little viral videos building up to the campaign. So that I'd done 3 months of work leading into that game, and to get rewarded with that day, like every Irish fan, it just meant the world. But I think the one that overwhelmed me the most was probably 2013 against England. We lost that game, actually, but it was the biggest ever attendance for a cricket match in Ireland. I started as the marketing manager the year before, and it was all building up to that one day when I was even hired for the role in early 2012, which was we're bringing England for a game. We're building the biggest stadium we've ever built for one day, which is going to be the first international match in decades at Malahide at this new ground. They'd laid out a new ground. And it was a Tuesday in September, and we had a minimum target of hitting over 9,000 ticket sales just to break even. And there was huge pressure, financial pressure on that from a working perspective. So I close to didn't sleep the week leading up to the game, and I don't know how we begged, stole, and borrowed 9.5, not nearly 10,000 fans there, sold almost every seat in the house. The sun shone, which is very rare in Ireland. We were blessed with that. And I was so busy during the day, I didn't watch much of the cricket, but William Porterfield, who was my Irish under-19s captain and a guy I've spent a lot of time with, he batted brilliantly that day. And I don't remember watching much of the game, but I was walking around. It was a hot day. I was in a suit. I was sweating. I was so busy. But I walked to a little gap in this kind of massive fortress of a stadium we built. I looked across, and Porterfield was on 94. I was like, God, we're going well. I was like, we might win this game. I was so busy with the work side, I hadn't got into the cricket side of the game. We were 200 for 4 or whatever, and bowler comes in, bowls him a bouncer, and he hooks it for 6 to get to 100. And the entire ground, 10,000 people, stood up. This is in Ireland where cricket's a minority sport, and my dreams always were of making it a popular sport. So to see 10,000 people there and everyone stand to the Irish captain, and it was a big screen. Sky Sports were there that day, massive big screen, which again is rare in Ireland. And there was a fan in the crowd waving the Irish flag, and Porterfield saluted everyone. And the brilliant piece of TV direction, the camera zoomed in on the Irish flag being waved as he's lifting his helmet off for the century. And I was just full body goosebumps, probably in floods of tears, just absolute bits. And it's funny, that's one of my strongest memories of Irish cricket in person, even though we lost the game. And that's, I think, one of the great things about cricket, isn't it? That, you know, even losses can be victories within themselves. And yeah, that was 3rd of September 2013. That was a day I'll never forget. And I love that day.
Exactly, and I think now we will move to the questions from our fans, our audience,
Yeah,
and I request all of you guys who is watching, please, whatever you wanna ask to Andrew, please comment that. And Andrew, I wanna pick few questions from your comment section too, which you have posted in the noon.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
think
for sure.
Roshan Magar have asked why Kusal Bhurtel can't play in proper way nowadays, and yeah, we have just asked that.
I can almost predict some of these questions. I haven't screened them yet, so I don't know. Um, Look, I guess we touched on it a bit earlier. I think opening in T20 cricket is such a, it's either a blessing or a curse, isn't it? You get the best time of the match to bat with only 2 fielders outside the circle, but you also have big pressure on yourself to score quickly. I think it was the first T20 against the West Indies. He left the ball outside the off stump. He just shouldered arms, and it was a good delivery. It was swinging away. And I think many would have watched that and go, he's not getting any runs at the moment. That's fine. He needs to get some time out there to get prepared. But part of me was watching that going, what are you doing? You never leave a ball in a T20, particularly not at a ground like the TU where the average score is in and around 200, you know. But that shows, I guess, the difficulty in the mindset of being up top. And when you're out of form, it almost feels like you're never going to come back into form. But almost all good batters, and I wasn't a good batter, I was a very good bowler, but I was not a good batter. Almost all good batters, they have peaks and troughs. And actually, the coming back towards a peak might feel further away than ever, but it'll be much closer than he expects. And look, you only need to think back to, it was less than a year ago. He's playing against Zimbabwe, first game of the qualifier, deserved 100, made 99. And Ian Bishop, I'm commentating with, is sitting next to me going, who is this kid and how brilliant is he? So just, I understand he's having a tough patch. He's a hell of a good player. And again, like so many of this squad, it's not just what he offers with the bat. He is a brilliant fielder, horribly underrated fielder. Some of the catches he's taken, catch he took in the qualifier last year, unbelievable. Catch he took in Oman, I know the game was gone, ridiculous. He's a brilliant fielder. He's a handy little bowler. He's still my opening batsman, and he will be even if he gets another 3 ducks.
Okay, so
And another one is look, seeing the current form of Vivek Yadav, who is currently struggling and not making much runs. Do you like to drop or select Lokesh Baum in the middle order because he is not gonna make to that Nepal top order? So Lokesh Baum in middle order is an option.
I think it's an option. And again, I think for ease of answering all these questions, let's just take a presumption that we're talking about the 20
World Cup.
players there being reduced to 15. Because I think anyone outside of that, even though there's probably some great cases, it's not going to happen. I think it is an option. I also think maybe the second most difficult place to bat in T20 cricket after the opening one, where it's a blessing or a curse, is that 6, 7, 8, when you may play between 10 balls and 30 balls. And, you know, you see someone like Dinesh Karthik who does it so brilliantly in the IPL, but he's 36, 37 or whatever he is, and he's had so much cricket behind him, and he's learned that, well, actually, I know how to deal with that pressure now. I know how to handle that pressure. Exactly. Dhoni, perfect example. Hasn't even been out this year, is he, in the IPL? Ridiculous. So in a funny way, you need a level-headed, measured guy there. And that's why Arif Sheikh is the other option there, even though he probably wouldn't be as much of a natural T20 player. I think it's probably one between those 3. I don't think you can bring 2 of those 3. I think 2 of those 3 will miss out between Arif Sheikh, Lokesh Baum, and Vivek Yadav. I think we saw in that innings against Oman at the T20 World Cup qualifier as to the potential that Vivek Yadav has, and that was off against one of the best associate bowlers in the world. And you have to remember in that innings, I need to look up the exact numbers, I think he was 8 off 8 or 9 off 9 in that innings. Or he maybe even 7 off 8, 7 off 9. Yeah. So he was in trouble in that innings. And it's such a difficult thing to go in and score from ball 1. And that's why Gulshan Jazz, quite brilliant 4 to 6 weeks, has been so encouraging with the bat. Because he's just kind of picked up a bit of experience and probably gone through that little peak, the trough that he was
Yeah,
in down in South Africa at the
190.
under-19s, and he's coming back up out of it. So they're very cyclical. They're very wavy as they go. Who's the best cricketer of the three? Arif Sheikh is definitely the best ODI cricketer of those three. And then I think probably one of Lokesh Bam or Bibek Yadav. It's 6 of one and half dozen the other. They're both very fine players, and they're both good options for what's a very difficult role.
Yeah, next is Pratish Jesse Sotin, us one for 15-member squad. Pratish
Yeah,
Jesse.
I would think so. I think it'd be rather surprising if they don't take a left arm seam option. Something I like about Pratish is he bowls good cutters too, and he offers that round the wicket option in the middle or death overs. He doesn't have great pace yet. Hopefully Roddy Eastwood can start to build that up. I really think he's a good option, and I think he's not a bad little cricketer down the end with the bat at 8 or 9. My one small concern genuinely around the squad is I don't want them going in with a team where they have a very long tail. And sometimes you look at Bahar Rajbanshi, Pratish GC, you can maybe exclude from this. Kamal Singh Airi, he's okay as well, but you don't really want, like, one of the great strengths always of Nepal was you had
Long batting
often Karen
lineup.
KC
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
exactly Karen KC at 9 or 10. So on the days that the top order fails, you have that kind of little bit of backup. And so many of Nepal's great performances, whether it be wins or great fight backs, have been thanks to somebody, Sandeep, making runs down at number 8 or 9 in the Cricket World Cup qualifier, or Karen KC doing what he's done so many times, Sampal Kami. So I'd hate for that to be taken away. But Pratish, yeah, he's got to go for me.
Yeah, for Pratish to be selected, I guess it will be direct one among Pratish or Kamal Singh Airi.
I don't think so. I've probably done my numbers wrong. I think both of them might get picked.
Because Sompal Kame, Karan Kesai and Avinash Bora are almost certain for 3 paces.
Let me have a look at I might have sent my team to someone recently. My squad, that is. Let me have a look at that. Did I have both of them in?
Oh.
I think I did have both of them in, yeah. I did.
But I think
yeah,
it's
maybe
gonna
I'm
be
picking
headache. Yeah.
I might have picked a bowler too many. Look, and I think naturally then that probably leads us towards Akash Chand, who for me, I think it's just come a little bit too soon for him. I think he's still a bowler rich with potential. All the stories and the evidence I've seen of his work ethic is phenomenal, and someone who will make it. But I think it might just come too soon for him. So yeah, if I had to pick Akash or Kamal Singh Airi, just personally, I'd probably take Kamal Singh Airi. But again, I don't know from a fitness standpoint and stuff you're seeing day to day around the camp.
Okay, then you're playing your 15-member squad. Could you tell?
I think I would probably go with 13 of the 14 that were in Oman.
Yeah, 14.
And I'd add
14. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the one that for me would miss out would be Akash Chand. Sorry, there's 15 in Oman, wasn't there? So we'll have 14 in the squad. So Akash Chand would be the one that I would see missing out. And then who am I? I think Anil Shah might miss out. Anil Shah could be the one to miss out. Yeah. And then I would bring Sagar Dakal, and I would bring Kamal Singh Airi. That would just be me. That would be my choices. Look, I think like so many of these things, there's probably 13, if not 14 already there.
13.
And there'll be a lot of speculation, but in reality, it's probably, are they taking Akash Chand or Kamal Singh Airi? Are they taking Anil Shah, or are they bringing an extra bowling option like Sagar Dakal? They're probably, in reality, the 2 picks. I think the other 13 are probably nailed on.
But Anil Shah also provides an option as a backup wicketkeeper. But if you exclude Anil Shah, Kusal Bhurtel can keep, but it has been a long time since he has also done keeping in domestic cricket. So I think one extra wicket keeper. Don't you think that Nepali cricket team should take that?
Yeah, it's a really funny one because for me, I do think they may have some travelling reserves as well, particularly if they're going to the United States in advance. for me, I often think as a reserve keeping option is a bit of a waste.
Yeah.
Because in reality, let's just say, heaven forbid, in the first game, Asif Sheikh is keeping and he breaks a finger. What happens? You get an immediate injury replacement. Okay, for the rest of that game, Kushal Bertel might have to keep as an emergency. But in reality, barring an injury, which touch wood won't happen, Asif Sheikh will play all 4 games and he'll keep all 4 games in the World Cup. You would like to think. Certainly, I would think. If it was me picking the 11, even if he made a duck in the first 3 games, I'll probably pick him in the 4th game. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying, and who knows? Maybe Kushal Bertel is Nepal's AB de Villiers. He can bat, bowl, field, and keep.
Yeah, and lots of talk going on about Dipendra Singh Airy batting position. Like someday he comes at 5, and well, he's then dropped at 7 or 8. So what would be a perfect batting position for him? As he's the best batsman for Nepal in T20, he should bat more balls.
Yeah, and that would be my personal gut feel. I think there's been a little bit of talk in a couple of the press conferences from Rohit and Monty about they want him as the finisher. So he has that extra experience, and that we're talking about that difficulty with that finishing role. So rather than it, being all on Bibek Yadav or Gulshan Jara, much more inexperienced, Dipendra Singh Airi takes that role. I get that argument. My personal gut would be, I said my top 5 for all 4 games in the World Cup earlier. I'd stick with that. I'd have Asif Sheikh and Kushal Bertel at 1 and 2. I'd have the skipper at 3, Rohit Paudel. I'd have Kushal Malla at 4, whether he's hitting or missing, doesn't matter. That gets you that nice left-hand, right-hand combination going through the middle. And I'd have Dipendra Singh Airi at 5. I think his game has moved on significantly in the last 12 months. I think it was the GT20 he went to, wasn't it, last August? Yeah. And I was talking a lot with Carlos Brathwaite, who was commentating with me in Zimbabwe. And it was good fun. We had all the commentators together for a dinner before we started. Really good guys. Andy Flower was there. Ian Bishop was there. Natalie Germanis was there. Like all the big names were there. And they were asking me in depth about each of the players. And I literally kind of rattled off, because I know so much about the guys. I rattled off them 1 through 15. And I spoke about this guy does this guy does this is his strength. And then I got to Dipendra Singh Airi and I was like, this guy's maybe one of the most underrated cricketers in the world. And for me, he's the best fielder in the world. And I kind of got laughed at. And that's fair enough. My enthusiasm, my passion, you're gonna get laughed at sometimes. That's fine. I didn't mind that. And then Carlos and I played cricket together in Ireland. He played 2 years as a pro here, so I know Carlos a bit. And he then played with the same team in the GT20 last year as Dipendra Singh Airi.
Yeah, Montreal Tigers.
And I got a text halfway through the tournament going, you know what you said at that commentator's dinner about him being the best fielder in the world? I don't think you're really wrong. And he just pulled off that ridiculous run out off his own bowling, where I think 95% of cricketers don't even stop that ball, let alone make it into a run out chance. His
that video went
speed
viral.
It's ridiculous, like freakish. Like his speed, his energy, his brilliance. He's the best cricketer you'll ever watch at a game. Like Jadeja, okay, might technically be a better fielder in a fielding drill. I'd still take Dipendra to watch every day. His speed, his electricity, you never know what's going to happen. He does things that I don't think others can even envisage, and I love watching him. So yeah, sorry, what was the question? I forgot the question. What were we talking about?
Yeah, we talked about his best batting position.
Yes. So his game's moved on. Bat him at 5, bowl him as much as you can, and put him in all the key fielding positions, and just enjoy him. Just literally enjoy him. I think we're seeing a once in a generation player there.
Yeah, really one of his less talked drawn out was of Mohammad Rizwan in Asia Cup.
Yeah,
that is kind of less talked one.
That was against Pakistan, right?
Yeah, in Asia Cup against Pakistan.
Yeah, ridiculous. But
that was.
He is electric, and I'm so excited. I know the Asia Cup's a big deal, right?
Yeah,
and going to
on a big stage.
It's a massive deal, right? There is nothing like an ICC World Cup. I'll tell you why. And it's so critical that people understand this. You look at the current cricket calendar, there is literally one event a year or 3 every 4 years where the whole cricketing world watches one thing.
Yeah.
Even the IPL right now, there's plenty of other cricket going on.
Yeah.
And when England is a home summer or Australia's a home summer, there'll be loads of other cricket going on. The only time is when a World Cup, every cricketing eyeball, every social media fan, every part of the cricketing world is watching one thing. And that's why I'm so excited about this World Cup. There's 9 associates at it. We're going to introduce the stories of Dipender Singh Iris. We're going to introduce the stories of Uganda's players, Papua New Guinea's players, the brilliance of Aki Bilias to a wider audience, the likes of Kalium Sana from Canada to a wider audience. Like, it's so exciting, and it's going to be so good. And I can almost guarantee you there'll be at least one ridiculous Dipender Singh Iris moment that'll be clipped up and will do millions of eyeballs, because he creates and makes more opportunities than any other fielder that I've ever watched. He might not make every one, and he might drop a catch for all we know, or he's misfield. We've seen him misfields.
Yeah.
But he's going to do something special, and that for me is really exciting.
Yeah, one question related with IPL impact player rule. Would you just scrap that away?
I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. Cricket is 11v11, and I don't like. I hate the concept of Avanesh Bahara being able to just come on for the last 7 overs, bowl those 7 overs, and then walk off, and that's his day. That's not.
Yeah.
If you're going to play cricket for the day, you're going to play for those 3 or 4 hours in a T20 or 7 or 8 hours in an ODI. That's your job. I personally, I'll probably get shot by someone in India, but I personally don't like to be a player in cricket, just on a person. But I'm with you.
So I think I have also a question. This might be a ridiculous comparison, but if you have to choose between Aki Villiers and Dipendra Singh Airi, you will be choosing?
Yeah. Both
You know,
inform all-rounders.
just a genuine choice.
In terms of impact on the team as a T20 player, or what in what
Yeah, in
context?
T20 player, in impact on the team, if you talk about it.
I think it's probably like asking me to pick, let's say, Freddie Flintoff or Jacques Callis. Like, so remember Andrew Flintoff or Jacques Callis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you look at the numbers, Jack Callis is going to win that argument
Yeah.
every time. He's
Yeah.
averaging over 50, nearly 30 with the ball. He scored X 1,000 test runs, X 100 test wickets. If you look at Freddie Flintoff's numbers, they're nowhere near as good.
Just impact.
But I guarantee you can remember Freddie Flintoff's impacts on games. I guarantee you can remember magic moments with Freddie Flintoff. If you're talking about which player do I prefer watching, it's without doubt Dipender Singh Airi by a distance, and I love Aki Villiers as a cricketer. He's brilliant. If you talk about who's maybe going to win you more games of cricket, it's probably Aki Villiers.
Yeah.
But so they're kind of. I'd like to have both in my team if possible, but yeah, they're both brilliant cricketers. Just very, very different cricketers, though, but both brilliant.
Exactly.
An interesting question from Ankit Koirala. What if Andrew Leonard was not commentator?
I think we have
Good
heard this
question.
somewhere.
I think I'm a bit more scared as to what I would be without cricket, because cricket is my life. Like it's in many ways it saved my life, because I don't know what I'd be doing otherwise. Like I did a degree at Cardiff in the UK where I went to college, but like being honest, that was to try and become a professional cricketer again. I'd had 2 years at Hampshire in their academy, and I went to Cardiff to go to the Cricketing Centre of Excellence. Like I did the degree, but I couldn't tell you one single thing I learned in that degree, and any of the things that I've used from that degree. And then I guess I was really lucky to go and travel and come back. And when I came back, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I just threw myself back into cricket as a player, as a coach, as a tutor, and an administrator. And now, really randomly, I've ended up as a commentator. Let's say nothing, because I don't want to do anything else. Yeah.
Okay, just when talking about inspiring stories, which new associate or affiliate countries do you think is rising rapidly? We have seen the rising story of Uganda, and Japan is also making a good rise in cricket recently. And which one country do you think will be a next big one?
Yeah, look, I think if you look at the most inspiring stories, they tend to be with players with very indigenous growth. So countries with players who have been born and bred in that country and lived for a long time in that country, coming through and discovering cricket and bringing it to a new audience and coming up the chains. And there's plenty of examples of that, the likes of Papua New Guinea, what Vanuatu are doing now at the women's qualifier that we've just seen. In the women's game, there's probably more stories. Brazil are a fantastic story in the women's game, Thailand as well. And then in the men's game, yeah, I think Uganda is just brilliant. In fact, Nigeria really excite me with their athleticism and potential. so many of the associate sides that they'll be really good fielding, have some good bowling options, and they'll find the batting a struggle as they're coming up, from the 50s, 60s, 70s in the world, coming up the rankings. And almost all of them, the likes of Nigeria, the likes of Saudi Arabia, they have that same element to their stories. I love the Uganda story. You're asking me about my emotions earlier when covering Nepali cricket, and you're comparing that to Irish cricket. I was in floods of tears when Uganda qualified in Namibia. It just didn't do a million views on TikTok or whatever in Nepal. So they are going to be, for me, the two of the big stories of this World Cup are going to be Nepal and Uganda. I really strongly believe that. Papua New Guinea didn't quite show what they could do in 2021, and that was a weird World Cup because it was coming out of COVID, and they're kind of were fans allowed, but they weren't really allowed in the UAE and Oman. This will be very different. I'm really hoping that it's going to be a carnival of cricket there. All the indications from anyone I've spoken to that I know in Cricket West Indies or the ICC are that they're really they're liberating this tournament. They're making it as accessible as possible in terms of ticket prices in the Caribbean in particular, in terms of what fans can bring in, outfits and costumes and dresses and musical instruments. So I think it's going to be a brilliant tournament. It's the biggest and best ever. I think it's so important that it's a success because it's the first truly expansionist World Cup that we've had with 20 teams at it, which is where we should be at. I think we should be at 24 in a T20 World Cup really soon, in like 6 years. The teams are good enough to be there. UAE are not at this World Cup. They're a brilliant team. Zimbabwe are not at this World Cup. They're a brilliant team. Kevin O'Brien's coaching Italy. They would have been a great addition. They very nearly beat Ireland in the European qualifier. Bermuda are a fine side themselves. Kamal Everock and all his guys out there, Delray Rollins. So, which country is the most inspiring coming up? Look, I think it's hard to look past some of the African countries with what they're doing, with indigenous player growth, with really passionate, amazing background stories. Not great facilities often, but yeah. Keep your eyes on Uganda and Nigeria, I think, in the years to come.
Okay, so Andrew's prediction on Nepal versus West Indies final score. 5-match series,
3-2.
Nepal.
3-2.
Nepal 3.
I'm not saying which way. 3-2. I said 3-2 at the start, and quite a few people, they were in the middle of the negativity. We're going to lose 5-0. We can't beat any of these guys. And then they won the first game, and I got loads of messages saying, can we win the series 5-0? They're two very good sides.
Yeah.
It'll be 3-2 either way, I think. Can Nepal nick it? They should have won that second game. I think maybe they can nick it 3-2. Yeah.
Exactly, and I think we are kind of end to this session. But I want to also ask you about the Nepal Premier League, which might be happening in this November or December. What do you think? Can we get the international franchises in Nepal, like Mumbai Indians or Chennai Super Kings? And how much will it boost or affect the cricket in our country? What do you think about that? And about players too.
Yeah, look, I think it's amazing to think of all the success that Nepali cricket has had and the number of attempts there's been to start franchise competitions there, that there isn't, as of today, there isn't a franchise competition there right now. It was well publicized what happened last January. I'll be honest with you, that was my one and only trip I've ever had to Nepal that I didn't really enjoy. You saw it was a difficult competition.
Yeah.
There was no fans there. The weather was terribly cold. It felt like the spirit and the soul of it all was just not right. That's in the past. That's gone. I think the good news is the board now have taken the ownership rights back. And I believe, if I'm right, I think the government or somebody has said that it has to be a minimum of majority owned Nepali. And that for me is important. The reason for that, I know some people might go, well, wouldn't it be brilliant to have the Kathmandu Super Kings and the Pokhara Knight Riders or whatever. It's better people name. I personally wouldn't want to see 6 renamed Indian Premier League franchises in Nepal. Nepal has a brilliant, vibrant cricket culture.
Exactly.
That should be celebrated. It's hugely popular. It's got maybe the most passionate fans anywhere in the world. They should be getting packed houses. I think the bigger thing for me would be, can they get the floodlights in to play it in prime time in India? That's a big deal. And that's a big deal for two reasons. One, to expose a primetime Indian TV audience, which massively increases its value. And two, to allow the fans that are regularly having to give up days of work to come watch games to not have to do that for once. To come in at 6:30 p.m. or 7 p.m. under floodlights in Kirtipur, that would be magical. So I would much rather there are 6 franchises that are, very close to Nepali heritage and hearts and the
Exactly.
history of the game there. I thought the stuff that the Everest Premier League did over the years was exceptional. A lot of the stuff that we were involved with there, Kevin O'Brien used to refer to, he's like, Lenny, it's like a mini IPL in Kathmandu. I was like, yeah, it's incredible. They got branding across the city. They got real, fan bases building up. They were selling the shirts. All those things are really
Yeah.
important. And it's not going to be massive in year one. It's a process. Yeah, but get 6 well-named franchises against the 6 kind of real cultural parts of the country where cricket is popular and successful. Like, it's such a winning product. And the one thing I would say about players then that would come, that was the final part of your question, was there's not a single player who's come to Nepal that I know, and I've probably met every foreign player pretty much that's come to Nepal, from Shahid Afridi in the Everest Premier League in
Yeah.
2021 to Ryan Burl, who's been there multiple times, to my great pals Paul Sterling and Kevin O'Brien. Every one of them that
Sikandar
comes in loves it. Sikandar Raza, another guy I know really well, loves it. They love Kathmandu because it's an incredible city with great people, and it's got its own culture, and it's a culture that Nepal should be really, really proud of. I love it there. I absolutely adore spending time there. There's not a single time I'm there that I don't enjoy. I feel more at home there often than I do in Ireland. Honest to God, I love it there. And I want more people to know about that, and I want more cricketers to know about that. And Nepal should be proud of that. And the nonsense that went around on social media about, oh, well, West Indies A have come and they've had to put their bag in a kit van. Like, come on, guys. Focus on more important, bigger things and things you should be proud of. It's exactly what they do. In some places, they wouldn't even have a kit van. They'd be putting it in the bottom of a coach, So, they host cricket really, really well there. The welcomes and the hospitality that the hotels give, the people on the streets give, the people from the Cricket Association of Nepal give are first class. I had Ross McCollum there, who's a former ICC board member, Cricket Ireland chairman. He's James's dad. He came to watch his son play for the Ireland Wolves. And I'd obviously told him a lot about Nepal and how brilliant it was. At the end of the tour, he turns to me and goes, Lenny, this place has blown me away. Some of the nicest people I've ever met. The hospitality is world class. There should be teams coming here season round
Yeah.
from October to April. And that's going to come, and it will get there. They're on the right track to get there. I know some fans have been frustrated that, why hasn't it happened yet? There's a few different reasons for that, and the cricket calendar is very squeezed. I think it will happen, hopefully sooner rather than later. And let's hope that the T20 franchise league can get up and get off the ground. I would certainly love to be their commentator.
2023 saw the reincarnation of Nepal cricket in literal term, and hope this goes on, the growth goes on, and with World Cup this year, it will be a even bigger year. And I guess we are towards the end.
Yeah,
And
awesome. Look, I think I'd agree with what you said there about the kind of the reincarnation, because there was most of the challenges were off the field. There was a lot of administration issues that they had. Obviously, there was a suspension from the ICC at one point as well, and I think sometimes fans will be critical of boards. That's natural. Here in Ireland, we're going through that right now. A lot of the Irish cricket fans are being very critical of what the governing body is doing, despite test status, despite all the success, despite all the good things that are happening in the game. And that's really just a byproduct of passionate people wanting things to be better. But I do think, in fairness to Nepal, the board and the Cricket Association of Nepal, they deserve a lot of praise, because without a good function off the pitch, you can't have success on the pitch. And, people should be praising them for hiring Monty Desai, for not hiring some Australian or English or Indian really famous former player. They got the right guy in who's doing the most brilliant job. The youth development pipelines are getting better than ever. There's more cricket being played than ever. And I think for me, the future is still brighter than ever. And at points over the last probably month or two, some fans have understandably forgotten that. But I just wish you could do a little time machine and tell them in January 2023, you're about to go and play your second World Cup in your history with a really good, exciting, very fit, very charismatic young side that may well go and make some real upsets and some real waves. and really leave a legacy, not just for the cricket fans in the country, but for the country as a whole. This, in many ways, will be one of the biggest things Nepal as a country has done. And the similarities for me, I know I've said it a few times, but to Ireland going to their first Football World Cup in 1990 and what that did for our country and announced us to the world, I think they're incredibly similar. And I think it's going to help uplift the nation over the many years that will follow it. And let's hope it's a regular thing. Let's hope this is the start of a dynasty of going to another T20 World Cup in 2026, going to an expanded ODI World Cup in 2027 as well. I think the players are good enough, and I think certainly they deserve it, and so too does the nation.
Exactly. And if you talk about on the growing point, right, the salary of the Nepali cricket players is, I think, it is more than any other jobs in Nepal. And I'm 16. And what do you want to tell to the, people of my young age? Should they pursue the dream of playing cricket, or should they, or do any other jobs? Should they pursue the dream of playing cricket? What do you think?
In a country like Nepal.
In
Yeah,
the country like Nepal.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Why would you not chase your dreams? We all only get one life.
Yeah.
I chased the dream. My biggest dream in my life was to play cricket for my country from a very young age. I never quite achieved it at the very top level, but would I change a moment of it? Absolutely not. I played with and against some of the best players in the country, some of the best players in the UK, some brilliant players down in Australia where I played club cricket too. And I loved every second of that journey. Will every player be able to make it? Every young boy or girl be able to make it? No, of course they won't. But why would you clamp down or restrict someone's dreams? The key thing that you said though there is to play for Nepal. And the reason that people are even dreaming of doing that is because the role models that they have, male and female, now across the country. And that is the power of dreams and uplifting people. Not every single player who dreams of playing for their country is going to go on to play for them, but one of them might become the best cricket administrator of all time. They could become the best umpire. They could become a really successful businessman who then has a massive soft spot for cricket and ends up becoming the national team sponsor, which actually happened in the UK back in the 90s. So getting more people in and around and involved with our sport can only be a good thing. And I think it's the greatest gift there is. I'm still yet to meet people who truly understand cricket who don't like it. I think if you can get given the gift of it, you're going to have a long and very happy life with it, whether that's engaged as a fan, as a player, as a volunteer at your club, as an umpire, as a scorer, whatever that may be. And I just think the journey that Nepal's cricketing journey, the path that they're going on, I don't think it's just exciting for the country. I think it's exciting for the cricketing world. It will hopefully uplift other associates. I got given a little bit of grief recently for saying, "Oh, why do you always back Nepal? Why are you always encouraging them and seeing the best in things and saying that they're never going to lose?" I never said they're not going to lose. Of course, they're going to lose games. But for me, what they've done over the last 15 months is they've become the epicenter of associate cricket, the spiritual home of associate cricket. And that is only like, I know from talking to Gerard Erasmus from Namibia, with Richie Barrington the other night in Glasgow in Scotland, and he was going, I just can't wait to get back to Nepal again, because, and that's uplifting associate cricket generally. 6, 7, 8 years ago, these games weren't broadcast. Nobody even knew they were happening. You might have a live score if you're lucky. There was people getting updates on text message on non-smartphones, for God's
Yeah,
sake.
on
We've
Crick
come,
Info.
we've come an awfully long way in a really short time, to the point whereby the wider cricketing world has woken up to the brilliance of the associate game. The players are better than ever. The only trick is the players at the top level are better than ever as well. So they've got to keep lifting their game up to try and hang on to the coattails of the Heinrich Klassens, of the Virat Kohlis, of these guys, the Shaheen Shah Afridis. But my final prediction for this whole session, we will see upsets in the 55 games. We will see at least 2 associate victories over full member nations. And I'll stand over that 100%. And they're going to be not just 2. Will there be a couple of heavy defeats as well? Yes, of course there will be. Uganda could lose a game by 150 runs to West Indies. Does that matter? No, it really doesn't. That's just a case of them getting exposure against better players for the first time. We'll see upsets. I think we might see more than a few upsets. And I think we might just see an associate through to the Super 8. I don't know which one it's going to be, but that would be massive for the associate game, given what the Netherlands did in 2022 at the last T20 World Cup, and also what they did at the 50 over World Cup too.
Yeah, the first match between Nepal and Netherlands will be a huge one. If Nepal win, then Nepal will have a great chance. Or if Netherlands win, then Netherlands have a great history against South Africa, and within the
Big time,
same group. Yeah, and that would be an
big
interesting
time.
one.
It's a massive game. It feels very much like a must-win game. But even if Nepal lose that game, then okay, the attention probably turns from getting to the Super Eight to we've got three chances to beat a test
Yeah,
nation for the first time. We've never done it in any format,
Yeah.
and that that's it. That's a bit of a monkey on the back of Nepal. Scotland have beaten full members. UAE have done it. UAE beat New Zealand last year. Ireland, when they were associate, they regularly beat full members. Namibia have done it. Namibia beat Sri Lanka. Lots of them have done it. And even USA beat Ireland, in a
Yeah.
T20. That
yeah,
was 2 years ago in 2022. So that is it's something that I know they haven't had a huge number of games against full members in official T20Is or ODIs, but that's something that they'll want to happen sooner rather than later. And I've been really consistent with it. I think it's going to happen in June.
yeah. Another three chance for Nepal to register their first win against the test nation. It should be taken as
Exactly.
this simple.
And I can't wait to see the footage of the Nepal fans in the ground in Texas and in Florida
Yeah.
and St. Vincent. And also, as you said, back in Kathmandu and back in
Basantapur
Biratnagar and
and everywhere.
Pokhara, everywhere, Basantapur and Nepalgunj. There's going to be outdoor, there'll be big screens put on. It's going to be absolutely amazing.
Exactly. And I
Okay,
think, yeah, we are
okay.
on an end to this live stream.
Fantastic.
And thank you so much, Andrew, for giving us time and uh, giving us your valuable time here. And we really enjoyed the session, and I hope all the audience also enjoyed that. Thank you so much. I hope we will be back with Andrew in the future, in
Someday
the
soon.
near future again. So yeah, thank you so much for
It's a,
watching. Jai Nepal.
Yeah, thank you everyone for
it's a
joining
pleasure,
us live.
guys.
And this is Vivek Kumar Yadav
Yeah.
signing off.
Dandavad and Jai Nepal.
Thank you.
Namaste, guys.
It was great. Zaga, hello. Is it off right now?
Well, thanks, Andrew.
Okay, so I'll sign off.
Yeah.
Cheers, you
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Pleasure to meet. Keep up the great work, and hope you enjoy the remaining games.
Thank you so much
Thank you.
for
Thank
the
you.
time.
Cheers, guys. Namaste.